You know, I was about 10 years old. My grandma died a year or two before. And I was in church. And one of the old ladies said, you should go put 25 cents in the box, a quarter, and light a candle for your grandma. And that's when it began. That's when I got hooked on candles. I didn't realize it till decades later, right? Honest to God, that's when I got hooked on candles. I put 25 cents, hard-earned money, for a 10-year-old. This is back in the 70s, gang. And I put 25 cents in the box for a candle. Not a little one. Not a big one either. But I figure Grandma deserves more than the little tiny candle. So I put the money in, and like all my life, I found myself lighting candles. I still like them, by the way. But I get they have nothing to do with prayer or manifesting. And I shared this the other day with somebody who's new to what we do. They just joined manifestingmasterycourse.com. And they asked me a question about candles, and I said, cool, ready? Your faith in God is determined by your confidence in you. And here's my question, right? So if you feel that a candle that you light helps you manifest better, it doesn't. Right? No matter what, you actually have to imagine something effectively to light the candle. You have to imagine something effectively to buy the candle. You have to imagine something effectively to have a match. Now here's the thing, ready? What happens when you run out of matches and candles? What happens when the matches get wet? So you can imagine the candle being magically lit. You can imagine finding more matches. You can imagine finding more candles. Or you could just simply experience what implies your wishes fulfilled. And you could have fun doing it, because here's what I keep noticing. There's so much to discover about you. You are 100% divine. You are 100% human. Neville Goddard talks about the wonderful human imagination. He says that your awareness of being is God. I find this all to be good news. I find it to be something like Neville. Neville explored this for decades. Do you realize that? He put out his little thing in 1948. That wasn't the beginning of his career, but that was the beginning of a movement. He put out the 1948 core lectures that we share. We have the original manuscript for those, by the way. Talk about cool. It was on eBay for a couple $1,000s. We got it for a couple $100 for some reason. Right? I remember the day that arrived. Oh my God, talk about fun. You see, I was imagining people in the Law of Attraction by Neville Goddard group were sharing their Neville books. Like, hey, I got this when it was signed by him. I got this when it was signed by him. I went, wow. And a couple things happened pretty rapidly after that. One, a fella actually sent us a copy of Out of This World, signed by Neville, and he got it in a little bookshop in Dillsburg, Pennsylvania, which is where I lived when I was taken hostage in that prison riot, 23-year-old prison guard, totally other lifetime, There's before the riot, and there's after the riot, right? There's before moving to Melbourne, there's after moving to Melbourne, right? There's before Dream-Driven Day, there's after Dream-Driven Day. And there's after doing it again and again. See, every day you get to give yourself goodies. Every single day. And here's the cool thing. You don't have to wait to light a candle. Even if you love candles, and I still do. I love cigars. I love single malt scotches. I love Apple products. I love the portable disposable hot tub. I love Victoria. But here's the thing. None of them help me manifest quicker. None of them make me manifest slower. And why would I include Victoria in that? Because I get the emails, right? Now I want you to check this out. The same lady that's asking me about the candle, right, tells me about her husband. When he's negative, I can't manifest. Oh my God. This is where you get to buy the pearl. I am such a massive fan of the pearl. That's why we included it in the middle of manifestingmasterycourse.com. That's why we did 3 group calls back in, I believe, June or July about the pearl. You can get those at pearlpowerpack.com. 3 for 1 special. But it's so cool because when you get Believing in Candles has you sell the pearl. if you believe that candles can make this easier for you, or believe that as long as the candle is lit that your intention is given life to, see, you are what gives life. If you believe as long as he's grumpy you can't manifest, you can't lift him up then. And here's the cool thing, if he's grumpy and you sent me an email and you manifested a reply, right? You just discovered that you can. The question is, will you? This is what's so much fun, because we've sung for years on the show, just because you haven't doesn't mean you can't. The other one is, just because you haven't noticed doesn't mean you aren't. You're giving life to stuff all the time. My job is not to convince you that this is real. My opportunity is to invite you to explore somewhere else differently with it. Because the more you explore you, the more you're going to get. This is why Neville taught it for decades. He kept exploring it. This is why we've taught it for decades. We keep exploring it. You're the best game in town. And exploring you is a never-ending journey. And I don't mean a journey to cross the finish line. No. This is an adventure, guys. You're an adventure. You're not a race. This is not a race to the finish line. This is an invitation to the dance floor. All right. If you got gold, today we're going to suggest Pearl, powerpack.com. Because here's the thing. It's not your faith in candles. You know, Neville didn't say your faith in God is measured by your faith in candles. He didn't say your faith in God is measured by... Stop it. Your faith in God is measured by your confidence in you. He can't hold you back, and a candle can't help. And this is the gold. This is why we begin where we begin in that course. All right. And again, back the crass commercial. Today's invite, Pearl, powerpack.com. See ya.